Happy day to all. Today we are going to see the previous year net exam question in communication unit. Yes, let's we go. The first question, differentiation between acceptance and non-acceptance of certain stimuli in classroom communication is the basis of certain stimuli. What is stimuli? So stimuli means event that evokes. Okay, so based on my communication, based on my attention, some students action will come to change. Okay, so this will happen in classroom communication is the basis of the first option, selective expectation of performance. If I expect some performance in the students, anything stimuli will happen? No. So remove this option 1. Selective affiliation to peer groups. So based on the peer groups, a certain stimuli will happen? No. In this classroom communication, if I give some selective attention, if I give attention to the students, if I focus the students, if I encourage the students, then certain stimuli in the classroom communication will happen. So certain stimuli in classroom communication is the basis of selective attention is the correct answer. The next one is selective morality. Morality means based on some behavior. So based on some behavior, the certain stimuli won't be happen. So this is also not an option. So the correct answer is selective attention. The next question, assertion. The initial message to student in the classroom by a teacher need not be critical to establish interaction later. Okay, the initial message to students in the classroom by a teacher. So I am a teacher, I am taking the class. Okay, I am a professor, I am taking the class. So when I am started the class, the initial message need not be critical. Critical means it should not be some complex or something. So need not be critical to establish interaction later. So if I spoke something initial, so that they will interact about that in a later. So it should not be critical to establish interaction later. So correct. They are saying not to be critical. Yes, my communication should not be critical. Then reason. More control over the communication process means more control over what the students are learning. So if I am communicated a lot, then the students are learn a lot? No. So it is based on the limited quantity of amount we have to give to the students so that they will able to digest the concept. So it doesn't mean more control over the communication means more control over the what students are learning. So A is true and R is false. So option C is the correct one. Assertion is true and R is false. The next question. Assertion. To communicate well in the classroom is a natural ability. Is anyone get very easily to communicate in a classroom? To communicate well in a classroom is a natural ability? No, it is based on some experience or based on some practice. So it won't, initially it won't come natural, right? The next one, reason. Effective teaching in the classroom demands knowledge of the communication process. If my teaching has to be effective in the classroom, then I have to demand the knowledge of the communication process. I have to be knowledge of what I am taking. I have to be very knowledge in my subject matter. Then my teaching will be effective. So this is an exact answer, correct one. So option A, assertion is false and R is true. So choose the option 4. The next one. Assertion. Classroom communication is a transactional process. What is transactional process? So one, A has to give to B and B has to give something, right? So that is called as transactional. If A is taking the class and B is responding, yes, I understood something. So that is a transactional process. Yes. So this is a classroom communication is a transactional process, correct. The next one, reason. A teacher does not operate under the assumption that student responses are purposive. Okay, the teacher cannot take in assumption. So I cannot take in my assumption, yes, they are understood. So I have to get an feedback from the student, yes, I understood. If the student says, then I know, oh, yes, they are understood, shall we go to the next problem, right? So correct answer. A teacher does not, so I shall not, without any feedback, without any message coming from the receiver, I cannot go further, right? So a teacher does not operate under the assumption that student responds are purposive, yes. So option assertion is correct and or is correct, and or is the correct explanation of A. So option 1 is the right answer. The next question. Which of the following set of statement is correct for describing the human communication process? So human communication process will happen based on the verbal communication or non-verbal communication. The first, you can see that non-verbal communication can stimulate ideas. They are asking which statement is correct. Yes, non-verbal communication can stimulate ideas. Yes, it will stimulate some ideas, right? Some gestures, some handshaking. So it will tell my eye contacts and position. So this will stimulate some ideas, correct? So option A is the correct one. The next one, communication is a learned ability. Communication is a learned ability, not it is not a learned ability, but it may be based on some experienced. So if you are experienced, then only the communication will come automatically. Communication is not a universal panacea. Universal panacea is solves all the problem. So if I communicated well, it doesn't mean that I am going to solve all the universal problem, right? So we have to work also. So option A is correct. The option C is correct. Communication cannot break down. Communication cannot break down. Yes. No, communication can break down sometimes. Okay. The next question, next option, more communication means more effective learning by students. Is we have to, in a classroom communication process, we have to communicate a lot of messages so that effective learning is done by the student. The next one, value of what is learned through classroom communication is not an issue for students. Yes, because value of what is learned through classroom communication is not an issue for students. Yes, because the learning has happened in manywhere, in a social and many things are there. So option A, C, E, F is the correct one. In some websites they have given A, D, E, F, but this two is they both are giving the answer, but this is an exact one. Yes. Let's we go to the next question. The classroom communication should essentially be, the classroom communication should essentially, so when I am communicated in a classroom, so what is the essential one? The first one is contribute, and second one is empathetic, abstract, non-descriptive. If you are not describe anything, so then it is not an essential, right? And abstract, that itself not an essential. And empathetic means we have to understand the feelings of others. Okay, so then contrived means created by force. Okay, contrived means created by force. We cannot force the students to do or not like that. So contrived is not a essential one. Empathetic, we should have some understanding and kindness towards the students, so that the communication will be happen in a good manner. So empathetic is the correct answer. The next question. A good communicator begins his presentation. So when I am a good communicator, so I have to start my presentation with how? I should not start with a complex question, right? Critical, non-sequitur. Non-sequitur means non-sequential, like that. So it should be irrelated. If audience or asking one question means I am answering another. So there is a non-sequitur or repetitive praise. If I say the same word again and again, then that is not a good communicator. right? So a good communicator begins his or her presentation with a icebreaker. Should be starting with a very, it should be like icebreaker. Okay, I should start with the something like ice break. Okay, so ice break is the correct option. The next question. In a classroom, the probability of message reception may be enhanced by establishing a viewpoint. Yes. So the probability of message reception, how the students are receiving the messages, that is identified, that is enhanced by establishing a viewpoint. So if I explained some particular message, I am asking the student what you understand from this concept. So that is called as establishing a viewpoint. So after that only message recipient will be understood, right? Exposing the ignorance of students. So that is not an increasing the information load. My purpose is not the information load. And using high decibel audio tools. So that is also an not option. And the next one, effective communication presupposes. Effective communication, if I communicate effectively means what happens it is, either it dominate, no, we should not dominate under any circumstance to the students. We should always be friendly with the students, right? And then non-alignment. If somebody is asking A, if you are telling answer B, that is called as non-alignment. So this non-alignment cannot bring the effective communication. And passivity, if we are sitting simply, if I didn't explain any problem, I just writing on the board, if I am so passive, then the effective communication, it won't happen, right? Then my effective communication happen based on the understanding of the students. So option 4 is the correct answer. The next question, when verbal and non-verbal messages are contradictory. So verbal is a particular message which contains the words. Okay, non-verbal messages or gestures. Okay, without words I can convey some messages, that is non-verbal messages. Even though verbal and non-verbal messages are contradictory, it is said that most people believes non-verbal messages also, because by seeing the students itself we know how they are, how she is well or not, she is understood or not. By seeing by her gestures, by seeing the eye contact, everything we can able to know, right? So it is said that most people believe that non-verbal messages also. So that is the correct answer. So aggressive messages, no one can like, and verbal messages everyone can understand, that everyone knows. Indeterminate messages, no. The next one, the typical feature of an information rich classroom lecture is in the nature of. The typical feature of an information rich classroom is the nature of. So if you are providing much information in the classroom, and how this lecture will be, it should be sedentary means monotony, that is simply sitting in a hall and seeing the movie, okay, without doing any activity, sitting simply or like monotony. So that is called as sedentary. And staggered means the drunk person is not able to stand, staggered, okay, that is moving from one place to, that is shaking their body, so that is staggered and sectoral. So these are all not the correct answer. So in an information rich classroom lecture, you have to give more factual meanings, more information to the students, then it is called as an information rich classroom. The factual is the correct answer. Factual is some concept, some information. The sun rises in the east, okay, that is a fact. You are giving the informations, okay, lot of information like that we are giving to the students, then the classroom will become an information rich classroom lecture. Okay, the next one, expressive communication. That means, so we have to understand the encoder and the decoder contact. Who is encoder and who is decoder? Student. So first teacher, right? Teacher give the messages to the student. So teacher or professor is called as an encoder. Okay, and the students are called as, they are digesting, right? So they are called as decoder. So teacher is giving a giver the encoder message, and this will be digested by the students, called as a decoder. So this both should be in a correct way, then only expressive communication is driven. So expressive communication is driven by encoder decoder contract. It is not a passive aggression, or it is not about the encoder's personal characteristics, or it is not about the external clues. So expressive communication has happened based on the encoder and decoder contract. Positive classroom communication leads to cohesion, submission, confrontation. Confrontation means argument. So if I communicated something, it should not create any argument, right? Cohesion means something you are created by force, okay, generated by force. That is not natural. So the communication should be happen with natural. That is, we should not force the students, they should come automatically. So this is called as a persuasion. Positive classroom communication leads to persuasion. Persuasion means able to understand, able to accept. If I said some concept, if I work out some problems, they understood and they accepted. So based on like that I am teaching. So that concept is called as persuasion. So if I am explaining this concept, you are able to accept it. That is called persuasion. The classroom communication is the basis of social identity. External inanities means external some quality. Based on external qualities, my classroom communication, it's not dependent, right? Or biased passivity, no. Group aggression, if I created some group aggression, that's not a correct. So classroom communication is the basis of social identity. The next question. Imagine you are working in an educational institution where people are of equal status. Which method of communication is best suited and normally employed in such a context? So where people are of equal status means staff, okay, all the staff, students. So students are communicated with the students, that is called as they are equal status. So here people are of equal status are communicated, that is called as an horizontal communication. When this line, all the staffs are communicated, that is called as an horizontal communication. When the staff or student, okay, principal, HODs. So principal is communicated with HOD, and HOD is communicated to the staff, and staffs are communicated to the students. So this kind of communication is called vertical communication. Okay, from top to down, that is vertical communication. Or it may be from students to principal, that is also an vertical communication. That is, you are going up or coming down, that will come under vertical communication. Corporate communication, which is called as group communication. Then cross communication, one part of the people is communicating with, one department is communicating with another department, or another department students, or see this that kind of communication is called as cross communication. Here they said that where people are of equal status, okay, so all are staff, so they are started communicated, then it will come under horizontal communication. The next question. Identify the important element a teacher has to take cognizance of while addressing students in a classroom. So while addressing what I have to remember, has to take cognizance. Cognizance means knowledge. Teacher has to take cognizance of while addressing students in a classroom. Avoidance of proximity, no, some little bit proximity must be there between the teacher and the students. Proximity means some intimation between the students and the staff. So little bit, not much. That is, for example, we have to connect with the students and then we have to start. So little bit proximity is important. So avoidance of proximity, they said. So it is false. And voice modulation. Voice modulation is important. Repetitive pass. So that is not, or fixed posture. If you are standing in a single place If you are not moving, then it will not feels that addressing the students. So you have to move around with all the students, and you have to be collaborate with all the students, then only it will be effective. So voice modulation is the correct answer. The next question, what are the barriers to effective communication? Barriers means some difficulties for an effective communication. Okay, the first option, moralizing. So you are based on your behavior. So if I explain the concept, if some students are not listening, okay, that is moralizing. So that is a barrier for us, right? So that is moralizing and being judgmental and comments of consolation. So these are all the barriers. Judgmental means they are going to take only this, so they are going to take that. So that kind of judgmental, these attitudes are barriers to effective communication. So option 1 is the correct answer. The next you can see dialogue, summary and self-review. If you are a communicator or if you summary, these are all the effective communication. And use of simple words, cool reaction, defensive attitude, personal statements, eye contact and simple narration. So during my communication I have to use some simple words and cool reaction and some personal statements, a little bit personal statements, eye contact. These will bring effective communication, right? So they are asking which are barriers to effective communication. So when they ask barriers means, so that is moralizing and being judgmental and comments of consolation. So these are all the barriers to effective communication. The next question, the choice of communication partners is influenced by factors of. So when my communication partner, if I am communicated with A to B, they are partners, okay, communicator. So how A can influence B? So first of all, they should have a proximity. Proximity, I told, some involvement between the persons. Yes, it must be there so that the communication will be effective and also influence, right? And then utility, useful. A has to talk something useful to B and B should talk something useful to A. Utility and some loneliness, they should sit separately without any work. So then these three things are very important to influence the factors. And the choice of communication partners is influenced by factors of proximity, utility, loneliness. And secrecy should not be there. So when person is secret and avoiding something or dissimilarities there, then the communication partner is not influenced by another person. So that is option A is the correct. So 19th, as a teacher, select the best option to ensure your effective presence in the classroom. Use of peer command. So if you command to the others, that won't happen. Making aggressive statement, we cannot present effective presence. And adaptation of well-established posture. So if you have to follow some well-established posture, then only it will bring the effective presence in the classroom. If you are doing some authority, it won't work out. The next one, every communicator has to experience manipulated emotions. So if I am communicating means, so I should not manipulate emotions or the issue of homophiles or status dislocation from one place to another place. So every communicator has to experience anticipatory excitement. Anticipatory means what happens next. Oh, she is communicating something. Okay, what she will communicate next, what she will explain next, in which way she will going to explain. So such a anticipatory excitement is very important. So such a anticipatory excitement is important for the communicator. The main objective of student evaluation of teacher are. So how the student is going to evaluate the teacher. So when I gather student weakness, she evaluate as a very good teacher? Never. So when I said any weakness about the students, they won't like. we have to talk about the strength. We have to talk very positively, right? So that the student will evaluate the teacher. Okay, she's good, the staff is good, she will evaluate like that. Then what? To make teachers take teaching seriously. So I have to take the teaching seriously. So then only student will evaluate her correctly. To help teachers adapt innovative method of teaching, I have to use some innovative methods, is correct. To identify the areas of further improvement in teacher traits, I have to modify myself. So initially I can communicate in English, okay, but later I have to improve myself to communicate well in an English. Thus then the student will be evaluated. Okay, the staff is trying to evaluate herself or himself. So that will give a credit by the students. So these three options are correct one. To make teachers take teaching seriously, or to help teachers adapt innovative method of teaching, and to identify the areas of further improvement in teacher traits, teachers attitude, teachers actions, that is called as traits. So option B is the correct answer, B, C, D. The next one, using the central point of the classroom communication as the beginning of a dynamic pattern of idea is referred to as. So in a classroom communication, if you are having some central point, okay, this is a central point, okay, so I am telling that you just say net, okay, net paper 1. So in a paper 1, what are the things it will come, and I am splitting this. So teaching aptitude and research and communication, comprehension. So if I am representing like this dynamic pattern of ideas is represented like this, is called as mind mapping technique. So using the central point of the classroom communication as the beginning of a dynamic pattern of ideas is referred to as mind mapping. This is not an idea protocol, or this is not a problem orientation or systemization. This is about the mind mapping technique. The next question, aspect of the voice other than the speech are known as. So aspect of the voice other than the speech, rather than I speak, so I am using my voice, that language is called as para language. This is not a personal or physical language. Physical image, the way you are dressing, such. So that's a physical personal language or delivery language. So that is not. So aspect of voice or other than speech are known as para language. The next question, every type of communication is affected by its. So my communication is affected by the recipient or the transmission. So it is not affected, right? Non-regulation, no. Receptive, if I am taking the class, the students will come and affect me, no. So by every type of communication is affected by its context. Okay, what I am going to speak, based on that my affected will be happen. That is, if I spoke about the politics, then then my communication will affected. So that is context. Okay, every type of communication is affected by its context. Context means what you spoke. So what you spoke in the classroom is very important. The words what we are using is very important. So that is they want to say. The next one is attitude, action and appearance in the context of classroom communications are considered as. Okay, so attitudes, actions, appearance, this will be come under non-verbal. So without using any language, I communicated something through my attitudes. If I help somebody, if the students are going to see that, then something is communicated to the student. Okay, students are also started to doing like that. So this kind of attitudes, actions and appearance in the context of classroom communication are considered as non-verbal communication. This is not a verbal I am not going to speak to say this and that, or impersonal or irrational, no. This is called non-verbal communication. The next one, most often the teacher-student communication is. Most often the teacher and student communication is spurious. Spurious means false or not correct. So this is called as spurious. So I should not talk any false or any incorrect statement to the students, because it will spread, right? Or it should not be any critical. And utilitarian means it is useful. So I should talk, the teacher should talk something useful to the student communication community. So the teacher and student communication is utilitarian. It is not confrontational. Confrontational means some argument. We have already said argument or some confusion. It should not bring any argument between the teachers and student. The next one. In a classroom, communicate a trust level. Trust level is determined by, normally use a hyperbola, chance of voice level, or if I use any abstract concept. No, it is based on the eye contact. By seeing itself, we can understand what is the student thought. Okay, so the eye contact is very important to determine the trust level.